Good morning. It's January 7th. We're here for our regular scheduled county commissioner meeting. We have a full slate of commissioners, all three commissioners, our administrator, Mr. Danzel, and our clerk of the board, Ms. Alvarez. So at this time, I'll call the meeting to order and ask everybody to please rise and join in the pledge. And if you would remain standing, we have our chaplain, Mr. Walsh, here. And I'd like to continue to wish you a Merry Christmas because it's still Christmas until the first Sunday after you. Please say a prayer.
So I'm Chaplain Gordon Walsh. I'm going to pray in Jesus' name. I'm a Christian, but we're a nation and a state and city of many faiths. So whatever you would do and pray in, just follow along with us, and we appreciate it. So Lord Father, we just come to you on this day. We ask for your blessing and your guidance in all that we do. We want your will to be done here within our community, our state, and our nation, Lord. Lord, so we just ask for your protection and guidance. We ask for a clear mind over the commissioners here, Lord, that they can hear your word, hear the guidance, hear the wisdom that they need for our community to prosper and to grow well and grow effectively, and have the foresight of future plans to do it effectively and do it with unity within the community of the Tri-Cities, Lord, and that we can support each other and not be divided between the Tri-Cities of Kennewick, Richland, and Pasco, Lord. So we ask for your guidance in all that we do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. So at this time, it is a new year, and we need a new chair. So at this time, we're going to open it up. I guess, Mr. Danzel, you'll probably have to run the proceedings.
Mr. Chairman, you'll continue to run it up until you entertain a motion to name a new chair, and I believe we call it is it vice chair or chair pro tem that you call it here?
Chair pro, but they're one and the same.
Yeah,
We can
exactly.
call
So,
it, like the old adage, call me what you want, just don't call me late for supper.
I wouldn't. But yeah, you guys will just talk amongst yourselves. There'll be a motion made. You're still proceeding over the meeting until that time, and then we'll move forward.
So I'll take nominations for chair. I will nominate Commissioner Mullen for chair. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
I'll take nominations for chair pro term. I will nominate Mr. Bauman.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So Commissioner Mullen, you are now the chairman, and we have our assignments all listed out, which I don't think we need to vote on those.
Okay.
Those are all, was the last, are there in the, so Commissioner Mullen, you've got the gavel.
So adoption of current agenda.
So, Mr. Chairman, we need to adjust the agenda that's in front of us. From the published agenda, pull item number 8, Resolution 2026-006.
I second.
I have a motion to pull resolution 2026-006. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 So, Mr. Chairman, did you make the motion to approve the agenda with?
So with that adjustment, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the remaining agenda as presented.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Public comment. Is there anyone in the room for public comment? If so, come forward, state your name, and you have 3 minutes. Is there anyone online? No. Okay. Hearing none. Moving on to approval of consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of consent agenda items 1 through 7 and 9 through 13 as presented.
I set.
We We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion passes. Regular business, Resolution 2026-012, Mid-Columbia Libraries, appointment of Andrew Warkala. Presented by Ed Frost, Vice Chair, Mid-Columbia Libraries. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. This is kind of a new process for us. We normally don't present our applicants to you, but I'll be glad to do it. Andy Workla has been on our board for 2 years now. You have his resume, his wonderful resume, and one of the things that Andy has brought to the Board of Trustees of the Mid-Columbia Libraries is a real deep understanding of finance and detail. Throughout his career, he's focused on that. That's what his education is in. He's done a really terrific job for us for 2 years. He sits on the Resource Committee, which oversees budget and personnel matters, and he also is now the Secretary of the Board of Trustees. So we've got a lot of work out of him. He's done a terrific job for us. I believe that 2 of the 3 commissioners here sat through an interview with Andy 2 years ago, so you may know something of it. Well-educated, has done a terrific job for us so far. The entire board would strongly recommend that the boards of commissioners of Benton and Franklin counties approve him for another 7-year term. Now, I know it won't mean anything to the commissioners, but Andy worked for a long time in Washington, D.C., and he became a tremendous fan of the team that used to be called the Washington Redskins. I know it won't mean anything to you guys, but I just thought that was a little piece of background that might help you understand him. And I'd be glad to field any questions you might have about Mr. Workla, and Andy's right here, and can also handle questions that you might have of his application.
Any questions?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for coming today, both of you. This came about today in this kind of a new fashion because of me. I found myself, not because of Mr. Workla, but through processes, just doing things somewhat routinely. And somebody asked me, why do you do that? Do you know who these individuals are? Do you know what, and I couldn't answer that question very well. So that's the reason that for maybe the adjustment in process here. And so I guess it would probably be appropriate to ask him a few questions.
Sure.
So thank you, Mr. Frost, so much for coming, and surely do appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Workla. I guess if you would just tell us and the audience just a little bit about who you are and what you're acting as a trustee on the board of the libraries. What does that look like?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so back at the end of 2022, I retired from the Department of Energy here, working at the Hanford site as a Fed. And so after I retired, I quickly realized that I had a lot of time on my hands, and it took some adjustment to figure out, what was I going to do. And I saw the application, and so I decided, well, I should probably try and look for a part-time job because I just needed something to occupy my mind and stay busy. And so I applied to I'm making a short story long here probably. So I made an account on Indeed, and I saw this vacancy open up on the Tri-Cities Board of Trustees, the Library Board of Trustees. So I applied, and I got appointed for that. Fortunately, my experience on the Board of Trustees kind of aligned with, as Ed said, my work job, my DOE career was centered around contract administration, budget development, budget execution, procurement policies, that sort of thing. So it turns out there was a really good fit in my experience, and I was able to kind of bring that forward and still stay mentally engaged in those kind of things. So that's my interest really in being on the Board of Trustees, is to provide any benefit that I can in the trustees' oversight of the library's operations and that sort of thing. So that's kind of why I enjoy being on the board and would like to continue. I've been a resident here of the Tri-Cities area since the mid-90s. I did start my career back in DC. I mentioned to Ed, it was another example of a small world when I was back there in the 80s. I like football. Of course, I'm a Seahawks fan, but I was really a diehard Redskin fan at the time, and Joe Gibbs' teams back in the 80s. I was at a watch party when you guys won the Super Bowl, and as Ed mentioned, I saw the game where Theismann was hurt and all that. But anyway, not to get off track on that, but I don't know if that answered your question or not.
It does, thank you. As I'm sitting here pondering, it's kind of hard to imagine that you and Clint both came out of Washington DC. So, thank you so much. I don't have any further questions.
I don't have any other questions, just a comment, and I appreciate you being on the board and watching after the finances. Our concern is the children and what inputs are being put in the libraries that are influential on children, and I would hope you'd be a guardian over that, about any of that activity happening here in the Tri-Cities.
We are. The board has a really good working relationship with the library management team, and they have policies and practices in place to review all of the materials that they obtain for their collections, both the physical collections and the electronic. So there are controls in place to manage that. We, of course, interact with the library management team on a regular basis, so we're plugged into that process. If you've seen some of those monthly reports, you'll see that the Mid-Columbia Library is either as good as, or in most cases better in a lot of the statistical measures than some of our counterpart libraries around the state. So I think the team is doing a really great job in managing and growing the Mid-Columbia libraries.
I just want to say thanks again for serving, and appreciate the memories coming my way here from the Redskins.
Yep,
They're still the Redskins in my book.
yep.
Thank you.
Thank you for serving our communities.
And thank you for your willingness to continue, so we do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of Resolution 2026-012 as presented.
I second.
We have a motion and a second on approval of Resolution 2026-012 as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving on to the closed record hearing. We will now open the closed record hearing for Resolution 2026-013. River Ranch Golf Course file number SUP 2025-01, SEPA 2025-17, presented by Wes McCart, Director of Planning and Economic Development. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners, Mr. Chairman. You have in front of you, you're going to have 3 different closed record hearings. This is a closed process. There's no testimony. I'm just here to answer questions if any come up that you have as a body. Thank you.
Any questions on the River Ranch Golf Course?
Just would say that I appreciate the thoroughness of the staff's report, and being handed that just before Christmas, I found plenty to do with my off time, and so just appreciate the thoroughness. I have no questions.
You do need to ask us if we had any ex parte communications and get through all that.
All right.
Review the material.
Have you had any ex parte communications you need to disclose involving this matter or for any reason to recuse yourself from these hearing procedures?
I do not.
I do not.
I do not. Have you reviewed the entire record?
Yes.
Yes, I have.
Yes. All right, are there any questions before we start? Is there any discussion?
Just pretty complete in there, with our planning commission. I think it's pretty much been reviewed and voted unanimously by the planning commission, and I have no questions.
Any further discussion?
Further discussion.
So at this point, I'll entertain a motion.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of Resolution 2026-013, the closed record hearing for the River Ranch Golf Course.
I second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. The motion passes. The hearing is now closed. We will now open the closed hearing for SUP 2025-02, WDF-W Ringgold Hatchery, a request for a special use permit to install fish rearing raceways in the existing footprint of the hatchery. Have any of you had ex parte communication to disclose involving this matter or any reason to recuse yourself from the hearing proceedings?
I do not.
I do not.
I do not either. Commissioners, have you reviewed the entire record?
Yes.
Yes. Are there any questions before we start?
I have one for Wes here on this. It's confusing to me of what they're putting in, Wes. They mentioned they're taking out runways and they're putting in runways. Now, there's two different sizes of runways that they're going to put in, or are they putting in only the three, or are they putting in the one that is a little bit smaller? And
So right now, they have runways, raceways that run, I'm going to say, east and west. And they're wooden, and they're plastic lined, and they
Right.
leak. And what they want to do is they're going to take those out, and they're going to run the runways north and south, and they're going to be concrete runways.
are they going to be
So-
12 10 by 90s or 3 20 by 120s?
Those are two different spots.
So they're going to put them
yeah.
all in.
So, yeah, so in one spot, they're replacing the raceways, the 12 will be up where they've got the plastic ones. And then down in another area,
Okay.
I'm going to say off to the south, and you should have a map in there, where you kind of see an existing pond area. Inside that pond is where they're going to put the other raceways.
Okay, that was the only question I had.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wes, for that clarification.
Any other further discussion? All right, I will at this point entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve Resolution 2026-014, the closed record hearing on the Ringgold Hatchery.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes. This hearing is now closed. We will now open the closed record hearing for ZC 2025-02, SEPA 2025-20, Rotting House Burns rezone. A request to change the zoning from a 35.4 acre parcel from AP 20 agricultural production to 20 acre to 1-2 general industrial. Have you had any ex parte communications you need to disclose involving this matter for any reason to recuse yourself from the hearing procedures?
I have not.
Do not.
I have not. Have you reviewed the entire record?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Are there any questions before we start?
I would have one question. As I went through all the maps, I believe this is not adjacent to, but that there is a parcel between this and the urban growth boundary line. In other words, the urban growth boundary line, a separate parcel, and then this parcel is separated from the urban growth area line. As far as I could.
So I believe actually you have Darigold, and Darigold's property is mainly in the urban growth area. And north of that, you have the Riemann Center, then you have another parcel, and then I believe it's the next parcel up. Kind of a larger parcel, and it's a piece of that.
Yeah.
There's several there. So it's actually quite a ways away from
The UGA boundary line.
UGA. However, it is still consistent with our comprehensive plan that would be an industrial zone.
Thank you. No further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, at this point, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve ordinance 01-2026, granting approval under file number ZC 2025-02 as recommended by the Planning Commission with 5 findings of fact.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. This hearing is now closed. Commissioner and Administrator updates. Mr. Danzel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This week, I have met with the Director of Information Services, Public Works, Planning, Building, and Economic Development, Facilities, a whole kind of a smorgasbord, really, if you will, of folks talking about 2026 priorities. With Information Services, we discussed software licenses and the need to monitor them, as we've discussed in the past. With Public Works, we reviewed some of the budget allegations and also the potential projects that Director Erdman is looking at tackling this year. Also discussed winter weather readiness, although we don't have the weather yet, so the readiness isn't needed. So we were just talking about that's right now kind of been a little bit of savings in our budget, but nothing to bank on. With Wes, Director McCart analyzed current workloads. Director McCart discussed with me the need for what's called a smart board. I'm kind of analog in a digital world, but I do know what that is. It's kind of a working, bigger board that you can work off, basically like an interactive whiteboard, if you would, so that you can pull maps up. Then most planning agencies and outfits have them, and he talked to me about the need for that. So just wanted to put that before you so you knew that is going to be a possible request. And we also discussed regional economic development initiatives and long-range planning. You'll see later on that they're in correspondence that Director McCart has also asked to hire a position when it comes to that. But we'll get there when we get there. Worked with facilities, had a meeting with facilities. We discussed elevator repairs. There are going to be some pretty hefty charges to be able to fix our elevators so that we can remain ADA compliant. Doing everything that we can to try to reduce the cost of that, but just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Also discussed the Knox boxes with Mr. Buer. Met with commissioners to address specific district concerns. Walk through the upcoming meeting agenda, and then later on in the week, I finalized the outreach for the USDA Rural Prosperity Summit. And when we get to correspondence, I'll have something for you there. Prepared the workshop materials for the January 28th planning session. When you see on correspondence a letter from you gentlemen to all the local municipalities, I want to send Benton County an invite, but since we were named as the area that's going to be hosting, the county that's going to be hosting this Rural Prosperity Summit, I'm trying to set up meetings with all the different entities so that we can have a unified message and have a better chance of being able to have a return on investment of having this incredible meeting. So, like I said, I'll be sending an invite to Benton County, to Kennewick, Richland, Pasco, obviously, Connell, Mesa, all the surrounding areas, Colotus. So you gentlemen, if you have any other ideas about that, just let me know, and you'll just be seeing that coming down the pipe later on. And then a couple things here. Already touched on that. Oh, so the other thing that I will be delivering to you, but it won't be on January 28th, it'll be the following meeting, will be our sort of our finalized 2-year strategic plan finally. So we'll have it on the board and be able to look at what we're actually driving towards, what our goals are, how we're going to get there, who's going to be responsible for getting us there. And I'm excited about that. So that's what I have to report on. I'm here for anything that you all need. And so, Mr. Chairman, if you need anything, just let me know.
Thank you. Mr. Baumann.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Happy New Year to everybody. Enjoyed some additional downtime with family and friends after Christmas, and got to have a second little spot of rest there. Enjoyed that. Attended a shrub step habitat meeting with TRIDAC and Representative Connors, as there's a lot of work being done with our local jurisdictions on how to manage and handle shrub step habitat. Representative Connors has been working on that and is working closely with the Department of Fish and Wildlife, the State Department of Commerce, and just some of the efforts that's going into that. Some of the conversations being had is not man, the thought just escaped me, not designating anything within an urban growth area as critical shrub step habitat. So just appreciate all the work that's been going on along with that, and the effort of having a united voice across our region in their positions. Agenda meeting with our administrator, multiple meetings with the PA's office. Appreciate them inviting me to their staff meeting and get to meet some of the new staff there, as well as the staff that have been there for a long time. Just appreciate everybody there and all that they do on behalf of Franklin County. I've been, as you guys know, meeting very regularly with the HAPO Center. They've been having some challenges with some equipment that runs the sheet of ice, and some of the efforts that they're doing there. Really appreciate all the work that's being done with updating that facility economically, painting walls, cleaning up, and appreciate everybody that's cleaned up behind the HAPO Center. Also met with our leader of the RV park. She does an amazing job and takes very good care of that facility, and there is going to be needs that are coming up, approaching, not anything in failure state, but just need to do some upgrading and updating, painting at some time in the not too distant future. I don't know that it'll be this year, but there will be need for HVAC upgrade in a portion of their facilities. So appreciate her showing me around and showing me what their current needs are and the upcoming needs. Met with Senator Torres and Representative Clicker. They represent the House and the Senate to our area, and this is a follow-up to the meeting that we had with the accidents and the dangerous section of road on 395, really for the first 20 miles out of Pasco. And so they are working on some companion legislation for the House and Senate. Representative Clicker has already dropped his bill, and Senator Torres is working on hers that would closely mirror Rep. Clicker's, and it would be to designate it a accident risk zone. And it would potentially, obviously it's still in its draft form, but it would potentially look somewhat like a construction zone where that additional enforcement could be taken by law enforcement when people are speeding in that area or driving recklessly. In a construction zone, traffic fines double in construction zones, and this would be similar to that, and it would likely have a big billboard saying it's a risk area, flashing lights, and getting people to slow down. So I appreciate their hard work on that and them meeting with me. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll leave that as my report.
So when you mention the ice equipment, is that the Zamboni?
No, they were having trouble with the Zamboni. I went and met with them, and they were trying to figure out what to do. And the drive line that runs it, I could have, if I had jerked, I could have uncoupled the U-joint underneath it. It was how worn out it was. It just was not getting proper maintenance. So they've replaced the U-joints. The exhaust was completely disconnected. There was no physical connection to the exhaust, and it was just had not been maintained. And so they've done a lot of work on it. They hadn't been changing the blades, and so they were struggling for it to work appropriately. So they've got that fixed. That part is running much, much better. Just appreciate all Chuck's work over there. He's really doing a hard cleaning up from a lot of lack of maintenance in the past. Primarily what I'm talking about with the sheet of ice is the compressors that run that facility. They had in rapid succession, they had several compressors fail, and they were really struggling. The first time I went over there, and the sheet of ice was at like 28 degrees. I mean, it was literally starting to melt, and they were struggling. So they went out and figured out they could rent a unit that they could plug in that would, a mobile unit essentially. But during that process and Chuck's hard work, they were able to get the backup system up and running. It had not been maintained appropriately. And so they're now on the backup system. The original compressors that went down, it's a pretty significant process to rebuild them. Their seals have gone out, and pretty big deal. So they're trying to get all options evaluated so that we can potentially go in and do a repair that, but as they've been doing this, they've got the backup system running. They brought the ice back down. They run at consistently 21 degrees, and it's running much better now, but we don't have a backup for the backup right now. So the original system, they're trying to find somebody that can work on it. And I know that they've reached out to Apollo and Bruce Mechanical and just organizations in businesses in Spokane, and they've been doing a lot of work. They were there almost around the clock. This is my assumption. This is knowing mechanical just a little bit. When a machine doesn't run for a long time, the seals get dry. And so they were losing oil. It appears to have slowed down as the seals have come back into being remoisturized. It seems to have stabilized and being running okay. But there was just a lot of, as we all know, the HAPO Center has been the maintenance failed for years, and so it's really just bringing stuff back to life. And Chuck has just been doing a great job. Mike has been doing a great job over there. And I got a really wonderful compliment. Somebody that I didn't know but was on the board of Visit Tri-Cities come and complimented to me about the HAPO Center. And it's a place that they're proud of and, trying to get businesses to come to. And I was pretty excited. I had mentioned it last week that the staff there at the HAPO Center came and asked me if I'd meet with them. So I met with them. We stood in the arena and we're talking about it. And what it came down to is they're trying to figure out, because they've booked out enough events that now they're trying to figure out how to book 2 events at once. And back just several weeks back, they had a concert in the arena one night. They had a more than 1,300 person banquet where they seated and fed them a full meal, and there was a hockey tournament all on the same night at that facility. And it was great to see cars parked on the grass all the way out to Convention Drive. They were parked across the road. They were parked over in the Ben Franklin Transit Dial-A-Ride parking lot, or not Dial-A-Ride, but the rideshare parking lot. It was just simply packed everywhere, and that was great to see. And it was great to see the facility being used, and the staff there trying to figure out how to use it to its fuller potential. So,
Do they have to cover the ice when they do events like that?
so there was a tournament, a hockey tournament, so they were using the ice, and then in the convention side, it was where the 1,300 plus person Christmas party was going, and then in the arena, there was a concert.
Oh, okay.
And so three separate events happening at the facility on one night was great. And they have said over and over how much it helps having the lines in the parking lot where they can have organized parking. And so it's been really good to see that.
Thank you for that update. Hate to put you on the spot.
No.
Can you explain for the public the shrub step habitat? Because it's my understanding that, is it Benton County that has no more land available, or is it Franklin? And that if you're developing, you have to buy that.
That is
You're paying for that development for the shrub step.
a complicated question.
That's
So
why I'm asking.
Yeah. So shrub step habitat is the habitat you see when you're driving out, let's say 395 towards Spokane, and when you get to like an interchange, the habitat that is in the clover leaf in the middle there, that it's got some native grasses, it's got sagebrush, and it's just that native look that's mature. That's for the public at large, that's kind of what shrub step habitat is. A lot of, like, a ravine would have shrub step habitat in it, and it can have what some consider a threatened species in it, whether it's grasses or the different things. And where the challenge came is the subjectivity with which the Department of Fish and Wildlife categorizes this vegetation and so forth as shrub step habitat. So it might be habitat that you would find burrowing owls or a kangaroo rat or these different animal species or bird species, and the Department of Fish and Wildlife was categorizing it. In fact, they have a map on their website that you can go look, and it's very challenging, because if you go look at this map, you can, for instance, Edgar Brown Stadium over here, the gravel pit that went in, back in I believe that went in the 30s, 40s, and so the Department of Fish and Wildlife's map showed that stadium as being potentially shrub step habitat. And there's other areas where that you can find a circle with potatoes that's been, a circle under farming for, decades, and it shows as potential, critical shrub step habitat. And so in one of our original meetings, there was quite a large swath of the development community, the developers, they're not the developers, the planning directors from, all of our local jurisdictions were there. There was a number of our local engineers that deal with these things, and Fish and Wildlife was there, State Department of Commerce was there. It was a pretty large meeting, and just discussing the challenges and so forth that come onto the table. And as a developer myself, one of the things that happens when you go through the SEPA process is you're evaluating the property. And on Columbia Center Boulevard, where the Red Lion is there, right across from the mall, right behind that on the west side of that, there was an empty lot, and then there's a couple of hotels there. So that empty lot, whoever owned it has owned it for a long time, and they decided they were going to develop it. And they were being told that was critical shrub step habitat. So on one side, you have Shopko, you have a hotel on the other side, 2 hotels on the opposite side, and you have the mall and a 7-lane road on the other side, and it's a roughly 3-acre parcel, and that was being described as critical shrub steppe habitat. And they were going to have to mitigate to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars to mitigate this critical shrub steppe habitat. And following that meeting, I had lunch with my wife, and so we drove over there and we drove through it, and she's like, "What are we here for?" And I said I was just trying to familiarize myself with what critical shrub steppe habitat looked like. There was 4 shopping carts. There looked like it'd be a place that somebody had lived for a week or so and left all their belongings behind. So that's some of the subjectivity that developers are challenged with. And so Representative Connors, along with all of the planning directors locally, myself, and we all told stories and talked about what does a solution look like. So what we're trying to do is figure out what the criteria is for describing or classifying habitat as critical shrub steppe habitat. So the piece that you're describing is where that you go pay a penalty or a fee or you pay to move or mitigate your habitat that you're potentially going to disturb or do away with. You're going to pay the Department of Fish and Wildlife or the Conservation District, whatever the case might be, to not, the state has a criteria where they have a net zero loss of habitat. And so when you go and you do SEPA comments and the Department of Fish and Wildlife comes back and they say you have 2 acres of critical shrub steppe habitat, you have to mitigate that. And so the part I believe that you're describing is when a developer has to go either purchase land or own land and then assign it over, or pay a fee, penalty, or whatever you want to describe as what your mitigation is going to be for displacing that shrub steppe habitat. There's nobody that I am aware of that could defend that parcel behind Red Lion as being critical shrub steppe habitat. And so there is a land trust, I think it's called the Blue Mountain Land Trust, that has been able to accept monies in the past for mitigation. The Franklin County Conservation District has done that to some level in the past. Benton County is working on it. So right now, I can't answer your question completely accurately, but this meeting that we're talking about, somebody asked the Benton County Conservation, what the number was going to be, and it's roughly $4,000 an acre. So to give you another little more complete piece of a picture and to just describe to you what I am extraordinarily concerned about is there is a private equity firm that has approached the local area and has described that they have $100 million that they would like to buy and create a land trust for the ability to transfer development rights or mitigate habitat or do mitigation. There's multiple different components of that, but I am extraordinarily concerned that somebody with a lot of money is going to come and take production ground out of production for perpetuity, and that gravely concerns me. The challenges that our planning director faces, developers face, our local jurisdictions face with trying to wade through the processes are remarkable, and hats off to our planning and building and economic development director for this process that he is underway with right now, our comp plan update, because it is so complex. The state has put the criteria on there where that we have to address climate, shrub steppe habitat, densities, zoning, all of the complexities that go into that are remarkable. And hats off to you, Wes, for going through that process. So really long answer to your question, I think, but wanted to try to explain it.
So basically, government agency can determine if your property, land that you already own, is shrub step, and then they can force you to purchase property somewhere else to transfer that.
And what it appears to me is that, as we've talked about with other agencies, the Department of Fish and Wildlife is attempting to, and I want to be careful how I say this, but that they are kind of de facto making the local jurisdictions the enforcement or the regulatory arm on their behalf. And so that's not completely, fully accurate in the way that works, but it's the best way that I can really describe it in a short, amount of time of what that process looks like. And it is complex and expensive and extraordinarily time consuming. And when
So what I have heard is there's, it's either in Benton or Franklin County that there's, if you have to, let's say, buy this fee of almost $5,000 an acre, that one of the counties doesn't have any more of that land available. So if there's none available, you can't develop your own property.
there's a lot of accuracy to that. There's a developer that I'm aware of right now in Pasco, inside the city limits of Pasco, that has to mitigate about 7 acres. And because there's not avenues at the current time with the conservation district or these other pathways, that this developer is on hold because they're handcuffed
Somebody else
until.
has determined that his land is shrub step.
Correct.
All right. Well, thank you. Like I said, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I just thought
That's right.
there's a lot of explanation that needs to go with that so that everybody understands what we're facing. So, Mr. Didier.
Well, that was great discussion, and it just further elaborates the assault this state has on the people of Washington State, in particular, businesses. My last week consisted of the agenda meeting with Mr. Danzel, and then I've been asked to go speak over on the west side, which I am not going to be able to attend. But House Bill 1399 is where the state wants to determine whether your sheriff is worthy of being elected. And what that is doing is taking out the ability of the counties to elect their own law enforcement officer to represent them. And it will put the state in control of the law enforcement in your county. Very concerning, and it's there. They've got the bill, House Bill 1399. And then I fielded, I don't know how many calls about people concerned about the income tax that's weighing right now in our legislature, the wealth tax they want to put on us, because if you own property and the value of that property, they want to be able to tax you on that. And then the assault on the businesses as a shrub
step.
habitat. Yeah, I'll just say habitat.
There we go.
But here we go. Washington Farm to pay AG $1 million denies guilt. What this is the Yakima Valley apple and hop grower will pay $1 million to settle claims it discriminated against domestic workers and favored H-2A workers. We got farmers that are in a world of hurt right now. It's particularly the apple industry is upside down. They can't get enough workers. And for them to throw this discrimination suit against him is another assault on the businesses of Washington State. It's a good day. This is our Attorney Brown, AG, speaking. It's a good day when you return money to farm workers who suffer discrimination and unfair treatment, Attorney General Nick Brown said in a statement. And then on it says the lawyer for the Yakima Valley grower According to the lawsuit, domestic workers did 91% of the farm work in 2021, but the percentage was down to 59% 2 years later. Cornerstone's attorney, Brendan Monahan, said the Attorney General's office based the case on statistics without regard to other reasons for the shift. This is absolutely was a case built on statistics alone, he said. The Attorney General's office is willing to weaponize data to cast farms in the worst possible light. If you think this was a one-off, it goes on to say, Shin and Son, a Toppenish, Washington hop grower, agreed in earlier December to pay $300,000 to settle the same allegations. So these, and this was settled because their insurance company, Travelers Insurance, knew that it was cheaper than going to court. So now they're out fleecing farmers who are already on the bankrupt side of things for monies on discrimination charges when they're having a hard time even getting the people there to work. This is our state right now. It is totally 100% going after businesses in Washington State. And I for one, am not going to sit here as a county and allow this state to pick our sheriff. We elect our sheriff. I don't care if they don't think the credentials are good enough. We're going to elect our sheriff. And I don't know what we need to do. Maybe we need to talk to Wes and go to the Eastern Washington Council of Governments and formulate a group of counties and say, we're not going to allow this. I mean, if you get enough counties, even Spokane, not Spokane, but Seattle, King County, none of them are in favor of it. So why don't we stand together and tell the state, we're not going to allow you to do this. So Wes, I don't know if you can formulate something and take that to the Eastern Washington Council of Governments, but we have got to get a grip on this. We cannot allow this to happen. And this income tax and wealth tax is going to cripple our state. What they're going to do is they're going to dwindle down the amount of taxpayers until the ones that are left can't afford it either. I've already got people telling me left and right they're leaving the state. They're leaving. They're out of here. They're moving. And I, for one, I can't pack up my ground and leave, so I got to fight. So that's my report.
I appreciate that part, and I would certainly lend my support to that effort.
All right. So this last week I met with County Administrator discussing current and upcoming events. Also met with the auditor, which kind of corresponds to what Clint had to say about House Bill 1399, which is a horrible bill. We need to be able to support who we want as our elected sheriff. It should be our decision, not Seattle making that decision for us. But with speaking with the auditor, we have kind of the same situation going on with elections. They want to make it to where if you have questions about elections, now they want you to go to the state and bypass your local auditor, which again is our state leadership is out of control in the things that they're asking us to do and forcing people to leave the state. I mean, if you're going to tax somebody to death, of course they're going to leave. I can't understand how they think this is the right thing to do, but we need to stand up and fight these bills like House 1399. That's our decision, that's our community, and they want to take control of it. And that concludes my report for this week. Oh, I do want to mention too that the January membership luncheon for the Chamber of Commerce is January 12th at 11:45 at the Hapo Center. And also the Ag Hall of Fame will be January 15th. And if you still want to buy tickets, I would hustle up and get tickets, get your reservations in, because they have to turn in how many meals they want. And if you want to eat beef and not chicken, you better get your name in there. And that will be at 6:30 at the Three Rivers Convention on January 15th. Thank you.
Ag Hall of Fame will be at the Convention Center?
Yes, it will. The Three Rivers Convention Center, the Ag Hall of Fame, January 15th. And again, contact the Pasco Chamber of Commerce to get your reservations in. So,
Thank you.
thank you. So moving on, do we need any correspondence this week?
We do. We have a couple pieces of correspondence. The first one is a letter from Director McCart regarding position, being able to go out to ad for position. I will tell you also, I verbally had a conversation with the clerk, Killian, and so they had also a need for a position. Both are in budget. And so it's just your gentleman, whatever your desire is. I didn't know if you needed a week to, think about it and deliberate, or if you were wanting to move on it today. But again, that's from Wes, and then Mike Killian had, like I said, reached out and we had discussed it, and I told him I'd bring it before the board. On top of that, the final piece of our correspondence is what I discussed earlier, which is our invitation letter to all the regional partners and stakeholders. So if you want to take a gander at that and sign it, that would be outgoing correspondence.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
seeing that this will have no detrimental effect to the budget, in fact, it'll actually a slight decrease, I have no problem with the hiring of the building inspector #1 replacement, if we want to proceed with that today.
No, I think that's a good idea. We can't be slowing down that department, so I'm in favor of it. Mr. Baumann?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
So,
A motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we amend the agenda to add 2 potential action items. One of them to allow our Planning, Building, and Economic Director to replace or hire an employee to replace one that is no longer there. And the same would be for the clerk's office to replace an employee that he has need of, and would ask that we amend the agenda to add those 2 potential action items.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 So then with that, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the request by the Planning and Building and Economic Development Director for his request to replace an employee.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
And the same would go for the clerk's office. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the clerk's request to replace an employee.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Canvassing board, letter from Mr. Beaton.
Let's just read that.
This right here? This one right here?
This is the canvassing board.
Oh, the new, you
No,
have to
that's all right.
sign that. That's
You
the
didn't know.
canvassing board.
All right.
This one is for the annual, for Mr. McCart,
Okay.
the annual.
Do we all need to sign this one, or just the? It's just the chairman needs to sign that. Yep. Okay. All right.
Does there need to be a motion on this canvassing board?
No, you're automatically on the canvassing board when you're the chair.
All right, thank you.
With the presidential election coming up, good luck. Or that's 2 years away, so that'll be another chairman. Signature verification.
All right. So at this point, we'll move on to public comment. Is there anyone in the room for public comment? If so, please state your name and you have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Michelle Andrews. Amendment 14, Section 1. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges of the immunities of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, and property without due process. Article 4, Section 4 says the United States shall guarantee every state in this union a republic form of government and shall protect each of them against invasion. I've brought this up to you before, gentlemen. We have now 529 Somali daycares. That is another invasion. And to the point of having a sheriff, they also want to take the coroner too. The sheriff, the prosecutor, and the coroner can call for a grand jury and enforce the Constitution should a public official decide to violate their oath, which is Amendment 14, Section 3. And they are not going to go through the courts because, as it said, that's only for losing life, liberty, and property. They simply are removed from office. And that can check back and forth. If your sheriff refuses to move, you can do this to him. If you refuse to move, he can also hold you accountable. And the reason that is not to make you aggravated at one another. It's because this isn't even a partisan issue. This is a constitutional issue. And if they are also to provide under Article 1, Section 15, to provide for the calling forth of a militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrection, and repel invasion, the militia is an ordinary citizen who may be called in times of emergency to serve soldiers. The Congress is responsible for giving us the supplies for that, the discipline, and the arming of them. That's why we have to have a Second Amendment. Gentlemen, these First Amendment petitions and the workshop I have been requesting over and over and over is now very timely. Wes McCart is working on one for the COG regarding the unconstitutional assignment to the Supreme Court. They had to amend our Washington State Constitution for the legislature to give them that power. They didn't do it. They didn't do it with minimum wage. They didn't do it with carbon credits, and they made a treaty with a foreign country. They violated the Commerce Clause with the alliance of the Medical Alliance of California, Oregon, and Hawaii. We must call our governor into constitutional compliance. And our sheriffs are able to do that. Our sheriffs can call for an invasion that has happened because of what we've got going on. People coming into our state undocumented and not being given an ARN number. May I please pass the 3-minute, because this is a constitutional matter and I don't want my rights
Already
abridged.
gone past your 3 minutes.
It's a constitutional matter, and I just read that I have a constitutional right to address grievances. I will be finished quickly, and I ask your permission
Chairman?
respectfully, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Please
Chairman,
maintain
please.
order in this courtroom, or in this boardroom.
Yeah, I'm sorry we don't give exceptions.
No
to
state
3
shall
minutes.
make or enforce any law which
Mr.
shall abridge
Chairman, I
the
move that we
privileges of the
adjourn until
immunities
this
of the
can be brought
citizens of the
into
United States. I am a citizen of
compliance.
the United States. Mr. Chairman, I ask for leniency. I will wrap it up quickly. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I
Your
move
time
that
has
we,
already expanded. So at that point, is there anybody else in the room for public comment? Moving on, is there any need for executive session?
Mr. Dockstetter.
Oh, Mr. Dockstetter, please come forward.
George Dockstetter, Self Landing Road, Pasco. Several things that come to mind. One, I want to give a shout out to the Chamber of Commerce for holding the Ag Hall of Fame dinner in Kennewick. What a bunch of BS. What's wrong with holding it here in Pasco, where Franklin County is? That's just garbage. Second thing, I don't know where in the hell you guys come up with 3 minutes. I mean, somebody's going to speak and it runs a little bit over. That's garbage to be, and rude to jump in and cut them off. And I think you ought to readdress the amount of time somebody's allowed to speak. The third thing that's on my mind, I don't mind the hiring of people that are already in the budget. But what gets me is during the year, for the past 3 years, all year long, people come in the middle of the year, department heads, and want a step raise increase for somebody in their office because they're critical. if it's that critical, they should have done it at the beginning of the year and not in the middle of the budget year. So I hope this year you guys will put your foot down on all these step raise increases that are requested by department heads. And then the last thing, a couple weeks ago when I was here, you were talking about the '09 funds. You know, one of the good uses of the '09 funds would be maybe putting turnouts on Road 68, Taylor Flats, and Glade North, and using the money there because it is a safety issue and an improvement to the county. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the room for public comment? Hearing none, is there need for an executive session today?
Yes, there is under RCW 4230-110-1I. We'll need 10 minutes with the board, myself, Ms. Lloyd, and the clerk of the board as well. Does the board wish to hold it here or downstairs?
Jeff, there are multiple needs, so,
Okay.
yeah, there's, I think upstairs is fine, but there's gonna be a need for more than just one.
Okay.
of
How
those.
much time do you think you'll need for the other items?
I think in total we'll need a half hour.
Okay, let's set it for that.
Are they all under the same RCW?
We'll also need Director McCart present for that.
Oh, okay. Does anyone need a break before we?
I,
Well,
I'm good.
All right, so at this time, it's 10:06. We will go into executive session for 30 minutes and break at 10:36. Thank you.
You have a good Christmas? Good. Pocatello?
We're like, Rocky, go ahead.
We've come out of executive session. We're going to go back into executive session as under the same RCW code for approximately 5 minutes. So the time is 10:37. We will reconvene at 10:42. We've come out of executive session with no decisions being made. Is there any other business for the good of the county? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.